Hi everybody, I know it's been a while, but here's another video over the Jeep Grand Cherokee. I know I don't make a lot of videos and I don't answer very many questions. I just don't have time, so bear with me, but I'm going to help everybody where I can. These are crank position sensors. Crank position sensors are Hall effect sensors that tell the ignition system where it is in the staging of the rotation. The system is looking for 12 pulses in a single rotation in 3 groups of 4. So what happens is every 120 degrees it pulses 4 times, another 120 degrees pulses 4 times, and that's how the system identifies the position of the crank when it adds together with the cam position sensor inside of the distributor. The pulse is important because it's what actually shuts down and turns on the fuel pump. There's a fuel pump relay that, as the pulse occurs, it closes the relay, and if that pulse doesn't reoccur within a second or so, then the relay opens back up again. So if it loses its pulses, it will go out there and shut down the relay, and the Jeep may shut down, thinking it doesn't, acting like it doesn't have fuel. So keep that in mind. These things are interconnected to one another. The main reason why we're going to do this video is quality. We have an OEM sensor versus a aftermarket sensor. This is an aftermarket sensor that was purchased through O'Reilly's. The OEM sensor is much better. I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you an example of why. Remember, these are magnetic type sensors, Hall effect sensors, so we're breaking the magnetic field around it. So as you can see, the strength of magnetic field is going to be important. So if I do this, and I just put an Allen wrench and I hold this thing on here, you can see how well this magnet holds on to this. Pretty good sturdy magnet inside here. Okay, and I'm going to take the OEM. See, it's a very poor magnet. Let's go ahead and show you on the table over here. Good sturdy magnet. Very poor magnet. So off the bat, these sensors are not made to the tolerances that the OEM sensors made. At first, when I first had a problem with the crank position sensor years ago, I went ahead and bought an aftermarket sensor. I left it inside there, and I kept on having problems with it. But this sensor was, too expensive, and I just didn't feel like spending the money over there. I recently had another problem with the crank position sensor, and I said, let me just go find out what the OEM costs, and it turns out they're about the same price right now. It's like $76, and this is like $60. I might as well just get this one. And sure enough, now I see the quality, and it runs a lot better with this sensor. So if you get the opportunity, go out there and get an OEM sensor. This is the same thing with all kinds of other parts inside of there. When you start talking about the idle air control, other type of sensors inside of there, OEM sensors are better than the aftermarket sensors. So one more thing to say about this is, if you were running an OEM sensor, aftermarket sensor for a while, the connectors, let's see if I can show you here. This is the aftermarket sensor. Let's see if we can show you the connector. You can see that the pins are a little bit on the big side. The OEM, the pins are smaller. How is that important? Well, the problem is, let's put them right next to each other, see if you can see this. Okay, the problem is that if you run an aftermarket sensor for some time and then try to put an OEM sensor inside of there, you may not have good contacts. Ultimately you have a spring inside of there in the connector, the female side of the connector. And once it's worn out, that pin may not hold in very well anymore. She just gets worn out. So what you need to do is close the pins out. If you go out there and open up the female side of the connector, you can go out there and actually put a tiny screwdriver and squish those pins together. So if you go to an OEM, you may go out there and have to do that, just to let you know that this is a possibility. Hopefully this helps. Everybody go to OEM before you start sending me emails about how your Jeep doesn't work in the first place, and we'll see if we can find a solution to the problem. You guys have a good one, and goodbye.